want to thank you for inviting me here today to talk about a program that we did for 8 years. We started this program, Zane Spiegel and I, in 1999. Zane contacted me and said, you know, we need to bring another level of protection to our groundwater. And so we started in on putting together what was called the La Cienega Valley Sole Source Aquifer. We worked on that for 2 years, and our purpose was to raise consciousness for regarding the protection of groundwater. Because there was existing, ongoing, and proposed new federal projects which individually and collectively contaminated our aquifer subbasins. And we had not had any regional environmental impact statement since the beginning of NEPA in the area. So we went through this process, and it was misunderstood. Officials, the community groups, thought that a citizen really shouldn't be in this arena, that they didn't know enough about bringing these issues forward. And so, as a resultant PR campaign by other stakeholders and a lot of political arrogance, we were just kind of slammed with people not wanting this. They presented information that was false about population and water use, and the first designation was rejected. But we came back, and they asked us to widen our scope and to look at the other subbasins in the area. And we did. And it took us another 3 or 4 years, and we were able to get this designation. And the map that's in front of us covers over 3,000 square miles of northern New Mexico. We have from the north of Mount San Antonio on down through the Little Chama and into the Rio Grande, the flows from Llano, the flows from the Churches Peaks, the Pewaukee Basin, and the Santa Fe Basin down to the ridge of the San Marcos, or ridge in the south. It was due to Zane Spiegel that we were able to define these basins, and it was accepted by the EPA. In January 2007, thanks to Clay Chesney, who's now retired from the EPA and who oversaw the Sole Source Aquifer program, we were given this designation. It is truly a work that took us a total of 8 years to complete. In that process, we had to define how our vulnerability to contamination. And so we had to look at all of this whole list of things, from septic tanks and leach fields to hazardous waste sites, mining activities, industrial sites, on down the line. And with the help of the New Mexico Environment Department and the EPA, we were given a list of those sites to include in our petition. But what we were wanting to concentrate on, too, is the fact that Llano and the contaminants for Llano were going to impact the drinking water supplies in the Middle Rio Grande and the Upper Rio Grande here in this aquifer sole source basin. And what happened is that Llano put out a series of reports, and still do, that manipulated the data to groundwater flows and contaminants migrating to the Buckman surface diversions and the well fields of Santa Fe. And there are sources of water for the county, to the pueblos, and for the Hispanic agricultural communities downstream and downwind. Some of the regional issues that we put forward here's a list, and you can read this online. I don't want to sit up here and read this list to you, but to show you anywhere from any project that has federal money must go through another layer of approval of their projects that they do not contaminate the aquifer. Now, this affects more municipalities and tribes, and it also would help people who are on domestic well systems and those that are using surface water in recharge zones throughout the area. Our focus on this was to have the oversight of the dumping and leaking underground storage and the nuclear, biological, chemical weapons and waste from Los Alamos National Laboratory. Of course, there was a big rush to get them to deem themselves exempt from any such oversight due to the nature of what their mission was at Los Alamos. But not only them, but this Office of the State Engineer also has the right to look at water quality. But they put out letters of understanding and memorandums of understanding, trying to exempt themselves from having to oversee this issue in federal law. So I think that what we came down with was that EPA was even telling us that the only thing, we're never going to deny a project. They said we will mitigate it and we will permit it. And that's not the intention of the sole source aquifer law. And a law is only as good as the people behind it and the people that are affected by it in the region. And that's one of the reasons why I was asked today to come forward to talk a little bit about why that same Spiegel saw of the travel times of the contaminants, of what the DOE was saying versus the actual reality of these contaminants hitting drinking water. And so here we have some references, but one of the things that I want to bring up is that Zane Spiegel was a very cantankerous man. He felt he was right about many things having to do with hydrology. In fact, he wrote a lot of the first hydrological reports in New Mexico. And I thought it was amazing that after reviewing Bob Gilkinson's report that was released to the New Mexico CAB and EPA and NMED, that he looked at the further merits of investigating how the RIC laws were violated and the installation and developing of the groundwater monitoring well system and the characterizations that are at Llano. And so we brought this forward also in the sole source aquifer designation. So this brings us to where we go from here. And of course, if anyone knows anything about water in New Mexico, most of all of our drinking water comes from groundwater. And that there are no long-term drinking water supplies. We could have designated the upper Rio Chama into this system of subbasins. We could have brought in Taos. We could have brought in other areas, but there was a problem with adjudication in these areas, and there was also more tribal buy-in in these areas. What it comes down to is a right to self-determination. It comes down to people in their communities taking up the cause and the call to action. And we are asking today to move forward to ask Region 6 in Dallas for a critical aquifer protection status of the Espanola Basin. And because we now see that the contamination of these contaminants to the aquifer is going to cause a major health hazard. And I hope that in this next couple of days that we are given the information from the experts here in the conference that can show us how we can move forward and we can petition EPA and our New Mexico delegation to help us fund the Sole Source Aquifer Program at EPA Region 6 and to ask for this critical aquifer protection. We also want to ask for funding to provide the municipal and tribal drinking water protection systems that are state-of-the-art that need to be built here in northern New Mexico as a result of that contamination. This is the reason why we came forward, was that we knew we needed a mechanism to help people survive here. And the other thing that I would like to talk to you today about was the community rights legislation, that we need to assert our civil rights to clean water. The regulatory path fails to protect citizens, and only through civil rights legislation can we protect ourselves, our children, and the rights of nature. We have to come to have that discussion of how we're going to bring nature first in everything that we do in order to make the cultural change we need to shift to help us in climate change and to help protect our future generations. And so today we have a petition. It is online at change.org. If you can go on and browse EPA Region 6 Sole Source Water, you'll see the petition there. And we also have it outside for you to sign. And please remember, our laws and our ability to enforce them comes from the people, and we need you to help bring that change forward. Thank you.